Okay. Mark Twain is said to have said, history doesn't repeat itself, it just rhymes. And we see the same old familiar tune in the case of Libya. I don't know of anyone outside of Libya and who isn't being paid directly by Gaddafi who was taking his side over the rebels. But it is the affair of the Libyan people to change their regime. But so they want us there. Yes, the interventionists are doing a good job promoting their cause with the Libyan rebels. And the rebels in combat can be excused in their desperation for being blinded by necessity. But we who have seen this before, you in other words, have no such excuse. Libya is not Iraq, but the knee-jerk excuses, the circular logic, remains always the same. Innocent people will be massacred if we don't do something now. And that something is always bombing. Not putting your skin on the line on the ground, mind you, but doing the alleged right thing from a safe distance of 30,000 feet. Like putting your dollar bill in the church collection plate. All for making you feel good, not actually dealing with the issues or the people, or putting your own ass on the line. Unless you are personally willing to take up a gun and fight on the side of the rebels. And this applies pretty much everywhere, not just Libya. Keep your fat ass and your big mouth at home. Because, as usual, this moral excretia bears its normal stink of hypocrisy. Your moral high ground is always a pissing mound for poor, weak, and small countries that can't fight you back, Rwanda being the strange exception. Even Iraq had to be smashed first in one war, then starved by 10 years of sanctions before you felt it safe enough to take Saddam down. Like a cat waiting to make sure its small, weak, floundering prey is half dead before closing in for the kill. Never would you have advocated this in Egypt. If Mubarak had decided to defy the West and crack down on his pro-democracy rebels, like China in 1989, you'd wring your hands and you'd slap his wrists maybe, but business would go on as usual. Why? Because Egypt is a powerful military state. The most populous state in the Arab world, possibly in Africa and the whole Middle East. It can hurt you back. And don't forget Israel, that ace in the deck that trumps Arab democracy any day. This is a story so old it's growing moss. At least as far back as 1898, when U.S. President William McKinley got on his knees in prayer and rose to his feet with the inspiration that it was God's will that we help our little brown brothers fight for their freedom in Cuba and the Philippines and save them from the Spanish butchers and afterward carve up their real estate and resources for yourself. The truth is that for all your moral posturing is still the same old white man's burden, not so crudely put in these politically correct days. And thanks to affirmative action, it sometimes has a different face put on it. But not really. Obama is standing shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Sarkozy and Berlusconi, so enough said there. But what if Gaddafi starts massacring innocent civilians like he says he'll do? Well, first, there's been no evidence of mass reprisals as yet. Well, not for your lack of trying to find them. Pulling out all the old chestnuts, a rape victim here, reports of someone somewhere getting shot there, abuse of some Western journalists by the Libyan military. But so far, Gaddafi's rhetoric of hunting down enemies house by house is just macho rhetoric, like Saddam's mother of all battles. Having a mother of all battle with this camera. And I think at this point Gaddafi wants a way out of this himself. He wants to be stabilized just like my poor camera. And so he will not execute his threat. But if he did, and only then, would the international community, that is the oil-consuming ex-colonial West, have a casus belli for intervention. This notion of doing nothing or breaking out the bomber wings is, as President Obama says, a false choice. Because it is possible to negotiate a way out of this. Does that mean the strategy has worked? Well, I have to ask what strategy. Because now the goal is to replace Gaddafi. Because once this starts, it doesn't stop until a safe satellite puppet regime has been installed in place that makes you feel good about yourself. It doesn't necessarily do anything for the people on the ground who have to live there. But as long as you feel good about yourself, that you've done the right thing and can go on your way, then that's all that's really important. Because if you really wanted to help people struggling to be free, and I'm not convinced that's really the case, but if so, then you should also intervene with your full moral artillery in places undergoing similar struggles, such as Palestine against the oppressive regimes strangling its people's human rights. But I get the feeling we'll see the Gaza Strip submerged by the rising sea levels of global warming first, won't we? And what would the Libyans or Palestinians get but just another satellite regime ruled by another Western flunky, another of Mubarak's? This is why the Arabs do not need your help, military or moral, to the extent you can tell the difference, in making democracy. The past year to date has shown that they can do just fine without your morality, your cluster bombs, your advisors, and construction contractors cleaning up the mess following your display of morality. Democracy and freedom are best grown from home soil. The result, like Iraq, Afghanistan, is always barren ground when sown by foreigners from 30,000 feet.